Attack on Titan is some of the most layered and in-depth storytelling in all of anime and manga. It's the type of series that even someone like me who loves this show deeply could rewatch it and still learn new things in every episode. However, that also came with a pretty large side effect. The mangaka of AOT, Hajime Isayama, created a story in a way that not only crafted out an incredible world, but one that actually felt lived in, alive even. Towards the end of the series, we got to see events play out from all kinds of perspectives, but for the majority of the anime's runtime, we only ever saw things through the eyes of Eren. The central story revolves around Eren and the Scout Regiment seemingly fighting these horrific titans, but in the later seasons, we get told that the real enemy is Marley, a nation across the sea that's responsible for these creatures. We treated Marley as this terrible nation while Eren and Co were the good guys, and to an extent that's what we're supposed to think, you know, the story is from the Scouts' POV and not the enemies. But nonetheless, there is still one character that really showed everyone the true nature of this conflict. A character that despite being incredibly well written garnered so much hate from fans, myself included for quite some time. And that character is Gabi Braun. Hot-headed, passionate, albeit pretty annoying at times too. It makes sense why she was so hated. She was everything Eren and the gang saw as the enemy across the sea, but in reality, Gabi wasn't the embodiment of evil. Rather, she was just the embodiment of a nation run on propaganda, a nation hellbent on revenge that she had been sucked into from an early age. Gabi wasn't just a child indoctrinated by a nation out for blood. She was a perfect mirror to Eren. However, instead of being engulfed by the flame of revenge as Eren was, she broke the cycle that he never could. I'm a big believer in taking accountability for your actions no matter the circumstance, but in this case, I feel like there's a real lesson to be learned about how someone's environment can shape their behavior. Gabi showed us that she was never the root cause of the problem. Sure, she was annoying at times and had some pretty awful moments, but what her character truly portrayed was war. The effects of predecessors our main cast might never know anything about had all led up to the events of the story, cascading into a brutal tale that had these otherworldly titan monsters and maneuvering gear that would never work in real life. And yet somehow, someway, Isayama's portrayal of these characters and especially Gabi have some of the best parallels to real life that I've ever seen in any anime. But before we get into that, how about a quick word from this video's sponsor, Tokyotreat. If you're an anime fan like me, chances are you probably like a lot of other things about Japan too. One of those things I know that I've always gravitated towards was Japanese snacks, and Tokyotreat is a perfect way to have an authentic taste of Japan delivered straight to your door. Tokyotreat offers an exclusive snack box stuffed full of unique treats from all over Japan, and they even include a cultural booklet so you can see exactly where your snacks are from, how they're made, and any allergen information that you might need to know all in one place. They've got chips, noodles, candy, and all the kinds of authentic Japanese snacks that I know that I would personally never find here in the States. Every month they send out a different themed box, with this December's being Snack in Wonderland. So if you're interested in getting some of these boxes for yourself or just need a perfect gift for the holidays, then use my link in the description and head on over to their website to get $5 off your first order when you use code SHONENSCOPE. Guys, I honestly can't be thankful enough to Tokyotreat for sponsoring this video, so seriously, if y'all want to support me and the channel, their snack boxes make for an excellent gift or just your own personal taste of Japan, so go check them out. Alright, now back to the video. On the off chance that you're watching this video and know nothing about AOT, there's actually only a few things that you really need to keep in mind. Eren Yeager and the rest of the scouts live on a place called Paradise Island that's filled with man-eating titans created by Marley, a nation all the way across the sea that's brimming with propaganda. In Marley, there are the Marleyans and the Eldians, and the Eldians are actually the same kind of people as those on Paradise Island. However, here they're kept in internment camps and treated as lesser, but since only Eldians have the power to become titans that can be used for war, some of the kids are selected to become warrior candidates. These kids get trained from a young age to prepare to inherit the power of one of the 7 titans that Marley has access to, and in Gabi's case, she's supposed to inherit the power of the armored titan from Reiner Braun. Reiner is also Gabi's cousin and serves as a major inspiration for Gabi's actions, as she believes that he's a prime example of a real hero. And it's not even that Gabi really likes Marley, she just wants the Eldians who live there to become one with the Marleyans, and she thinks that the best way to go about that is seemingly to become a strong warrior candidate and show everyone that the Eldians can be great people too, so one day they won't have to live in internment camps anymore. I'd say it's a pretty solid setup for a character motivation, but here's the issue. Gabi is reckless, annoying, loud, and overall pretty easy to dislike on a basic personal level. Sure, she has good motivations, but she's set up to not be very likable from the get-go. This effect is only compounded by her best friend Falco, another Eldian warrior candidate set to inherit the Beast Titan. Only Falco is much more calm and reasonable, which is often used to highlight just how negative Gabi really is when someone from the same background as her can end up like Falco. Sorry guys, editing me here, but I just wanted to mention that Falco wasn't actually supposed to inherit the Beast Titan. That was the job for his brother Colt, while him and Gabi were both candidates for the Armored Titan. I had just mixed it up while writing the script. Alright, back to it. Now that alone wouldn't make her hated, but that's not all she did. In her first major scene, Gabi pretended to surrender to the soldiers at Fort Slava, and using their confusion, she tossed a bomb that was strapped to her ankle towards them, destroying their bunker and wiping them out. We had very little context on this battle itself, so that didn't really mean much, but it did show that Gabi wasn't afraid to deceive her enemies using underhanded tactics. And she even did a little dance just after she crushed enemy soldiers, so some people got a little mad about that. Later on, she also shot 2 soldiers from the scouts, one that we knew nothing about, but the other, that was where she crossed the line. She killed Sasha, a character that we'd grown to know and love since the very start of the series, and on paper, yeah, some random kid coming in and shooting a beloved member of the Scouts is bound to make fans upset. After that, she was taken back to Paradis, beat another soldier with a brick after faking needing help, and proceeded to have even more scenes of her just being generally insanely hateful towards people. Gabi isn't made to be likable, in fact quite the opposite, but if we detach ourselves from the perspective of the Scouts, we can see a child who's been indoctrinated since the day that she was born, raised to be a soldier and slay her enemies without mercy, because that's what she thought would free her friends and family back home. Everyone got so heated about what she did to Sasha, but right before that incident, Eren literally transformed into a titan and slaughtered over 100 Marleyans, as well as 2 of Gabi's best friends right in front of her eyes. Even if you think Gabi should have been a little smarter and realized that the people of Paradis didn't deserve all the hatred that she felt towards them, I think many of us would feel the same way if we were in her shoes, or at least I think I would. Every problem that Marley faced was taught to link back to the devils of Paradis. Matter of fact, the entire reason for the imprisonment of Eldians, which Gabi was one of, was said to be the fault of the people on Paradis. Her entire worldview was shaped by her hatred towards these people, and the first time that she actually ever got to see him in person, they massacred her people, took the lives of some of her closest friends, and even attacked soldiers which she adored. If she hadn't confirmed before that the people of Paradis were truly the most evil creatures on the planet, she surely had confirmed it now. Now let me get this straight, I don't think that she was right for killing Sasha, and I think most people can agree on that. But we also can't ignore the fact that Sasha killed plenty of Marleyans just moments before. I can't say anyone was truly justified in what they did, but that's just the nature of war. The Scouts had the will to fight because they saw Marley as evil, while the Marleyan and Eldian warriors saw the devils of Paradis in the same light. While I do think Marley as a nation was inherently wrong, the individual people who actually fought in this war were almost identical, albeit just born on different sides of the sea. Gabi chose to fight for the same reason that the Scouts did. For freedom. She wanted her Eldian comrades to live in harmony with the Marleyans. She thought that she could make up for the mistakes of her ancestors by wiping out her enemies. But since the story was supposed to be following Eren this entire time, I could see how it's pretty hard to emphasize with that point of view. We've been shown the struggle of Eren and the Scouts, the brutality of the Titans that were unleashed upon them, and how easy it is for us to root for what we're already familiar with. Thing is though, if we take a little step back from Gabi's impact on the story and just look at the numbers, what Eren did was far worse. He manipulated Falco into sending letters to his comrades, brought the Scouts to Marley to launch an attack, and with his transformation, annihilated so many innocent people. Gabi might be this annoying kid who's pretty easy to dislike, but Eren's actions are far and away more evil in the grand scheme of things. Now I had mentioned earlier that Falco is indirectly a large reason for Gabi's hate, but I wanted to expand upon that a bit. People see that Gabi and Falco come from the same place, yet Gabi is the only one who causes so many problems, which is a major point for fans on how it's not Gabi's environment that made her the way she is, but just her as a person. However, I'd also like to point out that while Falco is shown to be Gabi's voice of reason and more empathetic towards his enemies, Gabi's #1 idol and cousin is none other than Reiner Braun, one of the most important characters in all of AOT, and he was part of the main force against the Devils of Paradis. Granted, Reiner is also a deeply flawed character with many regrets for his actions, but regardless, in the eyes of the Eldians back in Marley, and especially Gabi, he was the true embodiment of a hero. That idolization of Reiner gave her a burning passion to stand up for her fellow Eldians too, a passion that the likes of Falco never really had. Since we're talking about passion though, I think it's also an important time that we talk a little bit about Eren, because like it or not, these two are a lot more similar than you might think. The cycle of violence is something that AOT centralizes on quite a lot, especially towards the end of the story, and through Gabi we get almost a direct inverse of Eren's development. At a young age, Eren's home was attacked by Titans, which led him to join the Scout Regiment on a mission to eradicate every single Titan. He was extremely passionate about his cause, and he cared deeply for his comrades, and more than anything else, he wanted them to be free. Ringing any bells here? As the story progressed though, Eren morphed from someone with regular mortality into a much darker figure. He became someone who saw anyone who wasn't with him as against him. While Gabi's story started out with her being full of hate and rage and later learning to accept the true nature of the world, Eren instead fell deeper and deeper into the cycle of hate. Eren had watched the lives of his friends vanish in front of his eyes over and over again, all at the hands of his enemies on the other side of the sea. He viewed Marley as devils, the same way that Gabi viewed everyone on Paradis. Both of these characters ended up traveling to the other nation at separate times, and both witnessed a harsh truth. These people weren't devils. Far from it, in fact. Sure, there were the people who orchestrated the war, but for the vast majority, they were just regular people living their everyday lives. Both of them had accepted this fact, but that's the last moment where their paths are truly the same. Eren understood that these people are just like him and his comrades, and yet he didn't care. He lived among the people of Marley and took advantage of Falco's kindness to send letters back to his troops, all in order to launch an attack against his enemies, harming so many innocents in the process. Even though he knew it was wrong, it was still a necessary evil that he thought he needed to carry out. Gabi, however, is a direct reflection of Eren, as through understanding her enemies, she learned to make peace with them even if it completely shattered her worldview. During Gabi and Falco's stay on Paradis, they were taken in by the Braus family, the same family that Sasha Braus belonged to. As much as Gabi tried to deny it, these people weren't devils. They were just regular people living their everyday lives, even kind enough to give these two random kids food to eat and a place to stay. Even after they learned of how she killed Sasha, they still chose to spare her. She knew that devils wouldn't do that. In fact, Gabi began to realize that she might have been the one in wrong this entire time. There were never any devils on this island. Just people. People like us. Eren and Gabi both came to the same conclusion about the other sides, and yet Gabi was the only one who managed to break that cycle, while Eren instead was consumed by it. And I don't think it's fair to say that Gabi was an evil or bad character just because of one moment. We like to agree with what we know, and in this case Eren was the one that everyone knew best. That inherent bias led myself and many others to hate Gabi even though she objectively had far better character development than Eren did. Not that Eren's character development was bad, as his was excellent as well, but from a morality perspective, Gabi grew into a character that defied the odds of propaganda that she had been indoctrinated by her entire life, while Eren learned the truth and still carried out his final plans. And yes, I know that he said he ran through multiple timelines and this was the only way, yada yada yada, so I can't say for certain if Eren could have actually done anything differently to end this cycle of war, but this video is about Gabi's misguided hate, so let's just keep it at that. What Isayama did with this character wasn't just a portrayal of some kid taught revenge before empathy. He managed to take a world brimming with people of different ideologies and factions and morph his message of the series into one singular character. Some of you might say that's wrong and it's Eren's story, so he's the one that conveys the message, but the issue with Eren is that he became part of the cycle while Gabi represents AOT's message as a whole. Gabi was able to feel no remorse for her enemies because that's all they were to her. Enemies. The devils of Paradis. Evil creatures that were less than human. The war was far more than physical. It was a deeply ingrained idea that kept the wheel of hatred spinning for decades, and Gabi was just a canvas to represent that. In the end, when she finally realized that the devils of Paradis were humans just like the rest of them, we saw how war can so easily turn the lives that would regularly live peacefully into a repeating cycle of violence where both sides refuse to ever give in. Attack on Titan is a cycle, physically and literally, and Gabi's ability to break free from that cycle shows us the hidden truths of war on a human level. It lets us understand this conflict in a way that we can't get just from looking at numbers. Gabi wasn't evil. She was a product of her environment. Not that I'm dismissing her actions or anything, I'm not calling her a perfect person, but that's the point. She isn't perfect. She is inherently flawed, and that is what makes her such a great character.